Good morning. Yeah. A few announcements before we get into the service. Next Sunday, feel free, please do join Reverend Eric along with our General Assembly delegates, Monica Hughes and Shannon Sonoras, as we reflect on how we are called to meet the moment in this time and place. And then secondly, the nominating committee is accepting nominations for the 2026 Board of Directors. Thank you. Open positions for next year's board include President-elect, Secretary, and Member-at-Large. And if you're interested, or if you'd like to nominate someone, please see Sarah Clave, Susan Meyer, and Shannon Sonoras. Yes, that lady. Then help shape the fun at UUFOM. Our events team is planning exciting activities for the year, and you're invited to join in. The next meeting is tonight at 7 o'clock on Zoom. No commitment required. If you're interested, talk to Monica Hughes, Katie, or Wendy for the link. I don't see the other. Well, Wendy, yes, excuse me. And then September is packed with events at UUFOM, such as the pancake breakfast, the fall cleanup, that sounds like fun, water communion, the welcome back picnic, and our big community open house. And we'll be around after the service with sheets to sign you up. And I think by we mean Wendy also back there. She's got and Katie, they've got a clipboard that you can get your name on. Finally, it's just a reminder that the UUFOM has been nominated in the Midland Daily News Reader's Choice Awards, and you can vote for Reverend Eric as top worship leader and for UUFOM as local place of worship. And voting is open through September 7. And lastly, please watch our screens, your e-news, email, or Facebook for details on these and other coming events. Thank you. And we invite you to enter into our service with these opening words by Megan Visser. We enter this meeting house for kindness and comfort. May rough, worn hands and aching backs be healed. We enter this meeting house for hope, for equality, and may those who labor to survive know justice. We enter this meeting house of love and vocation. May our bonds of solidarity be strengthened. And we enter this meeting house of courage and friendship. May we proceed hand in hand towards freedom. Now I'll start over. Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Midland's worship service, today titled Live, Laugh, Lexapro, with guest seminarian Sarah Grant, who will be speaking over Zoom. I'm your worship associate, Tom Bailey, and helping lead today's services are musician Kevin King, Samuel McLennan on AV, with Jim Fallender and Janelle Dombeck assisting folks online. A special welcome to any visitors with us today. We hope you find here the love and care of a spiritual community that you've been seeking. Let's say that again. The love and care of a spiritual community that you've been seeking. If you have any questions, please let us know, and please sign our guest book before you leave today. And now, respecting one another's personal space, we invite you to briefly introduce yourself to someone you do not know or haven't seen in some time. To wave at the folks at home, they're on Zoom, come forward, and the camera is up on the wall over the door there and wave at them. Again, welcome and say hello. There we go. Now it's time to light the chalice. I'll invite Beth Sperry. She was here. Oh, here she comes. Yeah, well, I'm quick. Please join me in reading our chalice lighting by Melanie Davis, shown on your screens. If there ever were a time for a candle in the darkness, this would be it. Using a spark of hope, kindle the flame of love, ignite the light of peace, and feed the flame of justice. Thank you. And now we invite you to sit, you're already sitting, or stand, to sing our gathering song, number 1009 in the teal hymnal, and very likely up on the screen as well, with words and music by Sarah Dan Jones. Meditation on breathing.
Tom, I would recommend that we sit through this one.
Sit, okay.
Just center yourselves,
Okay.
calm your mind and your body. I think that's what Sarah Grant is looking for in this piece. We're going to go through through it 4 times. So twice is written. There's a repeat. So we're going to go through it 4 times. If you know the descant or the drone, please feel free to join in. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
Thank you, Kevin. And and everyone. And now it's time for our Time for All Ages. And we'll invite Sam Keeler up to do his thing with the kids.
Anyone wants to come set up your can? There's plenty of room. So today I have the words, but the pictures are up there. So if you want to see the pictures, you're going to have to look at the screen. My brilliant, resilient mind. How to ditch negative thinking to handle hard things better. There once were two twins, quite like you and me. They were loved, they were funny, as smart as could be. They had a nice family, a handful of mates. He liked art, she loved soccer. They both had good traits. Then life threw some curveballs, which life tends to do. It was hard and confusing. They felt kind of blue. She became somewhat gloomy and down in the dumps. His mood was directed by life's lumps and bumps. In this doom and gloom state, they just couldn't bounce back. They were stuck on a negative, unhappy track. But these twins were determined to muster their strength, to reset their minds on a whole new wavelength. You see, what they realized when they thought of their thoughts, which is really a thing we should do quite a lot, was their style of thinking wasn't helping them out. Their negative thoughts filled them both with self-doubt. Their mindset and what they thought under the lid shaped both how they felt and whatever they did. Their mindset impacted their moods and their choices, so they reframed and shifted their innermost voices. Let's look at that game when the other team won. She believed it was her fault. Self-talk had begun. Her thoughts said, "I'm no good. We lost because of me." But that wasn't true. They had worked as a team. She reflected again in a self-loving fashion and reframed her thoughts, showing herself compassion. I made some mistakes, but I won't get all stressed. We all played with heart, and we all tried our best. With a shift in her thinking from stinking to sweet, she worked through her feelings brought on by defeat. She gained some perspective, a new point of view, with thoughts that were helpful and even more true. Or how about the time, there are probably lots, that his littlest sis had some not so nice plots. She always is like that. She never is nice. This style of thinking is called black and white. He thought in extremes, which just made him feel worse. But he realized these thoughts were a negative curse. Reshaping his thoughts with more big picture thinking helped grow his perspective and kept it from shrinking. I don't like that she did that, and while it's not okay, she's younger, she's learning, and she's not often this way. With his mindset evolving, he's starting to see that it's not all or nothing, but more in between. Or the move this last year to a new and strange place. She couldn't believe her despicable fate. She focused on bad, like good didn't exist. And anything happy was ignored or dismissed. This neighborhood's weird, and this house is so bare. I miss my old friends. Oh, it feels so unfair. She noticed her thoughts were all shadowed and dark, so she started rethinking to regain her spark. I miss our old home, and this new one is fine. I miss my old friends, and I'll make some in time. It's okay to feel sad and to sit in that feeling, and to notice the good. It will speed up the healing. Or the project for school hanging over his head. To him it looked wrong, and it filled him with dread. His thoughts were critiques. I must be the best. I should do it better than all the rest. He felt like a failure, was full of disgust. He thought, I'll give up. It's perfection or bust. But he disliked the pressure from thoughts so judgmental, so he changed them to ones that were kind, fair, and gentle. I made some mistakes, but I did do my best. I hope that my teacher will still be impressed. He's learning his effort is what makes him great, that perfect's not real, and to grow from mistakes. The life of the twins has improved quite a lot. Amazing, it all had to do with their thoughts. Their lives have bounced back from, in their minds, disaster. With this new way of thinking, they're mind and thought masters. When things feel unfair and it all seems so tough, just know that you and your mind are enough. With a mindset that's growing, that's wise and reflective, you can see from more angles and gain some perspective. No matter what happens, you can think of your thoughts and recognize whether they're helpful or not. You can reframe your thoughts. They really are shapeable, and then you will realize you really are capable.
Thank you, Sam. And now we will sing our children out to their activities. Yeah.
We hold you in our hearts with love, a love as free as skies above, a love as deep as seas below. We love you more than words can show.
Now let us enter into a time of reflection as Kevin shares his composition, Returning. Thank you, Kevin. That was beautiful. Now it's time for our reading, which is a meditation on hope and love in a time of struggle by Alice Anakeka Naisman, by our speaker, Sarah Grant.
Sarah, I think you need to unmute. We cannot hear you on Zoom.
We love computers. Thank you. In a world so filled with brokenness and sorrow, it would be easy to lose ourselves in never-ending grief, to be choked by our outrage, to be paralyzed by the enormity of suffering, to feel our hearts squeezed tight with hopelessness. Instead, this morning, let us simply breathe together as we hold our hearts open. Breathing in as our hearts fill with compassion. Breathing out as we pray for healing in our world and in our lives. Breathing in, opening ourselves to the transforming power of love. Breathing out as we pray for peace in our world and in our lives. Breathing in as we hold hope in our hearts. Breathing out as we pray for justice in our world and in our lives. May we know our strength. May we be filled with courage. May our love flow from us into this world. Breathing in, we are the prayer. Breathing out, we are the healing. Breathing in, we are the love. Breathing out, we are the peace. Breathing in, we are the hope. Breathing out, we are the justice. May we know our strength. May we be filled with courage. May our love flow from us into this world. Amen. Blessed be. May it ever be so. Thank you all for allowing me to speak today. It's wonderful to be with you all. The unpublished subtitle of today's sermon is Self-Care in the Maelstrom. And I want to start out with a couple of things about why I love that phrase. And it'll help you all get to know me just a little bit too. I love cool words, and maelstrom is a very cool word. Merriam-Webster.com defines maelstrom as a powerful, often violent whirlpool sucking in objects within a given radius. In a Did You Know section further down the webpage, it also tells us the original maelstrom, also known as Mostenstraumen or Moskstraumen, is a channel located off the northwest coast of Norway that has dangerous tidal currents. I told you I was a nerd. English speakers became familiar with its often exaggerated perils through literature. Edgar Allan Poe wrote a story called A Descent into the Maelstrom, and Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea has, spoiler alert, a maelstrom at its climax. Now you're sitting there thinking, why does this woman keep saying maelstrom? I was trying to come up with a good word to describe the world around us without being overly, horribly descriptive. I tend to get bogged down in specifics and go a little too far occasionally. When I do go too far with specifics, it's not a good feeling. I get stuck in my head all too often, reading headlines and think pieces that lay out all the problems we're facing. I read comments from well-meaning people who just want to be informed. I get emails from various political action groups insisting that they need my money or they need my vote to save their movement or someone's life. Throughout the day, we get news alerts. It's not just the nightly news anymore. There's politics and the news about Russia and Ukraine, starvation and more bombing in Gaza, masked ICE agents abducting people off the streets, immigration and asylum laws being willfully ignored and broken, ongoing racial violence and injustice against Black and brown bodies and two-natured and LGBTQIA siblings. Somewhere in there, in all the living of our lives, we are supposed to exercise enough, eat the right foods in the right quantities, sleep enough, connect with friends and family, have work-life balance, and basically make sure we're happy, healthy humans. Self-care should slide in amongst all that day-to-day, moment-to-moment business seamlessly. The business of self-care is a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, and all the talking heads will tell us how to do it. No problem. Just listen to the attractive people in those flashy ads and we'll get there in just 5 minutes a day, right? This is why I call it a maelstrom, a powerful, often violent whirlpool sucking in objects within a given radius. I tend to be one of those objects. After I first graduated from college, I developed what we thought was classic depression and anxiety, and I had a breakdown. I couldn't go to work or do much of anything but cry in my bedroom and eat ice cream. My mom ordered me to call my doctor and find a therapist immediately. I did. A little while after that, I went to a psychiatrist and I was medicated for the first time. It certainly didn't solve everything, but it pulled me out of the pit I was living in, which was the whole point. I've continued with therapy on and off ever since then, and I'm still medicated, thankfully. I've done some pretty amazing, awesome things in my life, and I will always say therapy and medication are two of the best things I've ever done for myself. That's where the Lexapro comes from in my sermon title. It's a pretty common antidepressant. I have a rainbow sticker on one of my coffee mugs that says, "Live, laugh, Lexapro." Therapy is self-care. Taking your meds is self-care. Listening to your mom when she orders you to go to a therapist is self-care. So let's talk about self-care and why it's so important. Self-care is defined by Merriam-Webster as care for oneself. That sounds simple, right? We get up, eat something, maybe shower, possibly take care of our families, head off to work or get going with our activities for the day if we're retired. At the end of the day, there's errands to run, activities to drive to and from, then maybe kids to feed, bathe, and put to bed. There's always bills to pay, calendars to plan, and eventually bedtime for everyone. What else counts as self-care in today's world? Things like going for a walk, getting a massage, taking a nap, stopping your work or your project for lunch or a break, manicures or pedicures, haircuts or beard trims, facials, talking to a friend or a loved one or a minister, listening to music you love, things like that. When I get bogged down in the maelstrom, when I feel like just another object swirling in the eddies of everything else being pulled into the chaos of everyday life and politics and the world, these days I've learned for me that the first thing I need to do is go back to basics. What does that all look like for me? First off, sleeping. I need to take a look and see how much sleep I'm actually getting. If I don't get enough sleep, there's not enough caffeine available to get me through a day without dozing off. This is inconvenient, particularly on a work day or a school day. According to the Mayo Clinic website, healthy adults tend to need 7 or more hours of sleep each night. My sweet spot is 7.5 to 8. Less than 7 isn't enough. More than 8 or 8.5, and I start to feel a little hungover. I have sleep apnea, so I sleep with a CPAP machine. I love my CPAP. It keeps me from snoring, which helps me sleep so much better than I do without it. If you're waking up tired every morning, my unsolicited and possibly annoying advice is to explore your sleep hygiene. If you or your sleep partner has concerns, talk to your doctor. Fixing your sleep is worth the time and money if you can swing it. Second, and this one always sounds a little hokey to me when I say it out loud, but it goes very well with the story we just heard. A little positive self-talk. For real. Most of us have a little voice in our heads, or maybe not so little some days, talking about things we've done or said. Mine is often sarcastic, frequently quite mean, and says things like, "Wow, what happened to your hair today, Sarah? Sleep with your finger in a light socket?" Or, "Nice job forgetting your keys again, dummy." I learned many years ago to tell that voice, "Thanks for your input," and just move on. This is sometimes easier said than done, and it does take both self-knowing and some practice. But I know this voice doesn't have anything to hold over me. It can't make me do anything. It's not in control, and it doesn't deserve a response. But if I don't acknowledge it, all the little comments build up in my head until I'm moody and depressed, and then I say something out loud I didn't mean to say, and I feel even worse. Acknowledging the input with a simple statement doesn't mean I'm taking it in. I'm just letting it roll on past, and then it's gone. As I said, it certainly takes some practice, but it's worth the effort for me. Another coping mechanism, a new one for me from my first year in seminary, is meditation. Guided meditation seems to work the best, and I use an app called Headspace for that most often. I live in a 3-bedroom house with 2 roommates and a boisterous cat, so my meditation area is basically my bedroom. It's in the process of being cleaned out and repurposed into useful zones, and the relaxation zone will hold my altar, my meditation bench to sit back on, candles, and a pad for my knees. The whole thing will fold up and store on the lowest shelf of my bookshelves. Creating is next on my list. I'm always making things. I crochet, I write, I quilt. It's not what I make that's it's not what I make that matters, how I make it, or what it ends up looking like. For me, it's the act of making something, anything. When school was super busy last fall, I made myself a rule that I would crochet or knit 1 row of a blanket that I was working on before I went to bed every night as a sort of meditation and to make sure my creativity kept flowing. It helped me get through those long days of work and then also reading for class. I mostly made baby blankets to give away and scarves to sell at our church craft fair. Recently, I've started making easy hats to give to charity. Busy hands make me feel good. Dreaming sometimes feels like the most important thing of all. I love daydreaming about the pep talks butterflies give to depressed caterpillars. That line is from A List of Things I Love by poet Andrea Gibson. And I love it because it shows me a tiny glimpse into how her mind worked. Sadly, she died in July this year. Who thinks about butterflies like that, though? Andrea Gibson did, that's who. Now I want to read everything she ever wrote, in all my spare time. Seriously, though, I spend probably at least an hour every day dreaming about things to do, things to say, things I could or should have said, places I want to travel, things to make, books I want to read, stuff like that. When I'm just crocheting or sewing pieces of a quilt together, it becomes particularly meditative for me, and thoughts occur to me seemingly out of nowhere. Ideas for writing, maybe a sermon topic, or a good phrase to use in a paragraph, or something I need to put on my grocery list, or that thing meant to tell my mom. I have a little notes app on my phone for just these moments, and there's always a list titled Random ready to go. I even have Google Docs on my phone so I can write whole stories and sermons without standing up. I started this sermon on my phone. I got about 1,000 words in before I ran out of steam that first night. The biggest thing that's been getting me through the worst of days, though, and the best of days, and everything in between, is connection. I fully admit this is one I've really only sought so very deliberately since the election in November and the inauguration in January. I mean, my mom and my friends have always been there when I needed them, when I've reached out. But those days in November, especially right after the election, I felt alone, miserable, and helpless. January was downright scary. I read this poem in class one day. It's called Instructions on Living in a Broken World. And I first saw it in a meme posted by #StillWeRise on Facebook. Lean into community. Seek out love. Applaud the good you see. Keep paying attention. Talk to your neighbors. Dance to the music and embrace art. Look for love and small joys. Take breaks and relish in nourishing your body. Donate what you can. Linger at the dinner table with friends. Check in with your people. Let yourself grieve. Love one another as deeply as you can. The storm is upon us, and we must hold on. Don't give up. We're here together. This made me cry, but it also made me think. I noticed when I was with my friends or with my mom or doing church stuff, online in class, or even just texting people I knew, I felt better. I felt more. I felt like a person who saw hope for the future. I started opening up about my fears to the people closest to me and then to the next circle outward and so on. I've connected with friends I haven't spoken to since high school and relatives and some former coworkers I haven't seen in years. Now, instead of burying my head in a book when I'm sad or I need a break, my first reaction is to text or call a friend. My writer friends and I have continued a daily 30-minute Zoom call that we started back during the pandemic to keep each other sane. Now I feel like it's more important than ever. I went to my first General Assembly in June since way before the pandemic, and I roomed with 3 total strangers, and it was amazing. I went to my first protest march and rally this summer on No King's Day. I feel more fulfilled in many of my relationships now than I have in decades, and it's in direct reaction to the maelstrom happening around me. I've spent a bunch of time here telling you what works for me, what I've been working on, the things I do, blah, blah, blah. I haven't talked about what I do when none of that works. On days when I can't put my phone down, when the headlines won't stop coming, or when something happens in my life that I can't put away to deal with until later. My ADHD takes over. Having a name for this is pretty new for me. My therapist helped me figure out what was up in January this year. And suddenly, so many things I've had questions about myself are falling into place. I'm learning strategies to deal with this, but on the days I still can't deal, I know it's still okay to bury my head in a book or rewatch my favorite movie or just take a nap. And I can still always, always ask for help, even if it just means asking for someone to sit and read on a Zoom call together, or crochet, or something, anything. We don't even have to talk. Sometimes just that tiny bit of connection is all it takes to know it's going to be okay. As I mentioned before, the business of self-care will tell you how to do it right. There are books and pamphlets and websites, guides and gurus, and so much more. There's even me, I guess, but maybe use me as more of a jumping off point or a conversation starter than anything concrete. I'm no expert. Also, feel free to absolutely disregard everything I've said for the past 15 minutes or so, except the bit about daydreaming about the pep talks butterflies give to depressed caterpillars. That's definitely worth remembering. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. In accordance with our values and the stirrings of our hearts, we now invite you to support our fellowship's mission with your financial contributions. If you wish to pay toward your pledge with cash or check, envelopes are available just outside the door. And we appreciate and welcome your donations with gratitude. As we invite our offering, we also invite you to reflect further with the music Blessed Spirit of My Life by Shelley Denham, shared by Kevin King.
Blessed Spirit of my life, give me strength through stress and strife. Help me live with dignity. Let me know serenity. Fill me with vision. Clear my mind of fear and confusion. When my thoughts flow restlessly, let peace find a home in me.
Thank you all. Thank you, Kevin. We invite you now to sit or stand and join in singing hymn number 1014 from our teal hymnal called Answering the Call of Love, with words and music by Jason Shelton. One point, though, we would ask you that you use the words on the screen, "We are answering the call of love," which is a slight variation from the lyric in the hymnal. The composer actually changed the words to reflect a more inclusive call to action, but our hymnal didn't change at the same time. So.
And so
Thank you all for coming today. Thank you to our hospitality, religious education, and behind-the-scenes worship volunteers. And after our chalice extinguishing, please help yourselves to coffee, snacks, and conversation. Thank you again for being with us. And those of you on Zoom, please feel welcome to stay online where you can visit with one another until around noon. The chalice extinguishing goes as follows. Together we have enjoyed the warmth and beauty of stories of this flame and this special community. As our chalice flame is extinguished this morning, we can still remember that its glow is carried within us. We can use our inner lights and this flame to kindle new sparks throughout our lives and in the world. May the spirit of peace and togetherness bless our lives.